Alright, hello everybody and welcome to another match in the wwowie Star Tournament round of 64. We have Mateo12345 and wwowie with us in this match. And we are going to be going into another match after this one shortly. But with that, let's move on to the rolls. wwowie with a 83, a very high roll, and a 60 coming from Mateo. So they do get to pick between the first protect or first ban. A very interesting choice. So let's see if wwowie decides to protect or ban first. A very friendly choice. I mean, if you protect first or ban, it doesn't matter too much, but they would be going for the first ban. So definitely fun to see, but we can move on to our protect with Mateo being protect. And it looks like a little confusion. But we are going to be moving on to Mateo's protect, and looking at this match, definitely not the closest. I mean, C24 and C41, definitely a match that is a little farther away. And some confusion with SV wanting to be banned. Some confusion from both players, but it always happens. It is the first round after all. A lot of new tournament players. I'm not really too familiar with either of these players, so it could potentially be their first tournament. So some confusion here and there isn't always a bad thing, but we can kind of see what is to be expected. I mean, Mateo looking to ban SV, although SV can't be banned, could be a sign for wwowie to choose SV potentially. Essentially get a point from that. I mean, it is first to 4, so that point always matters. But we will wait to see what the protects are, but kind of looking at how things going. It does look like Rice 1 is a potential ban. So we'll have to see if Mateo takes advantage of that and protects it. And it looks like we're seeing a protect on Rice 4, Flamingo, a bit of a longer pick, which I do think makes a little bit of sense actually. Seeing Rice 1 wanting to be banned. And you see Rice 3 being protected, so 2 Rice being protected, very interesting. So it is now time to see what wwowie decides to ban. I mean, probably Rice 1, seeing their decision earlier with the confusion. But yeah, we're going to see Rice 1 being banned. Not too surprising, but let's see what Mateo decides to ban. I mean, maybe one of the Ellens, maybe one of the hybrids. So we see Ellen 1 being banned. A common ban, but you can't expect much, especially when this is a very slow and difficult map. So it is now time for the first pick, and kind of seeing how things go. I mean, wwowie might want to go for one of the Ellens or hybrids. I mean, seeing that Mateo banned one, well, could potentially be a good area to get a point in. I mean, for this pick though. patiently waiting, but it's interesting to see what will come of this match, just saying. The kind of seeding distribution. But we see Hybrid 2 being chosen towards the horizon on 1.05 times, so definitely an interesting choice. But we can finally move on to this match, into the first pick. Let's wait for these players to ready up. And here we go. It looks like they'll be surely getting into this pick. Hybrid 2, our stream focused hybrid, a very popular pick as well. I mean, it's a Camellia song. What else could you ask for in a very early round? Here we go, starting off with a little bit of a tricky Ellen introduction, but after that we will be getting into the basis of this map. Slowly yet surely though. I mean, so far it looks like a very small lead coming from Mateo. I mean, these accuracies are very high still. I mean, especially for this match. I mean, it is a lot closer than you might expect. I mean, wwowie is slowing down a little bit in terms of accuracy, but they're still performing rather well. Mateo holding a 99.8 still throughout this map. Very, very impressive, especially for how easy this map can be to choke a few 200s here and there. I mean, wwowie still putting a very strong performance of 997. Very, very strong scores. It's nothing to scoff at. I mean, it shows that these players have a very strong fundamental overall, and it could be very scary to see them. Whoever decides to kind of win this match and get into the losers bracket, it definitely does show that they can be a little bit scary within that bracket. I mean, even despite these maps being on the easier side of this tournament, I mean, the easiest maps that you can expect, as things get harder, they can still be quite scary if they keep these fundamentals in check throughout the tournament. I mean, wwowie starting to drop a little bit of accuracy, but still holding a really good accuracy. And here we go as we get into the end. And as the map concludes, it looks like Mateo will be getting this first point on a break point as well. A very, very important point for them, just in general. I mean, it kind of sets up the stage of what to expect in a match like this. But 992 coming from Mateo with 2 grades, and a 985 coming from wwowie, a very good run as well, only 7 grades. But here we go, going on to this next pick. It's going to be LN3, our technical LN pick. A very interesting choice, but kind of seeing how hybrid won, I do think it could be good to have. I mean, seeing the act difference, this could very easily go in favor of Mateo, if they don't miss, of course. Alright, here we go, going into Soul Explosion. A very tricky map, especially for an early round. This map surprisingly hasn't been banned a lot or at all. So definitely a map that seems to be on the safer side, especially compared to something like Ellen 1, Ellen 2, Rice 2. But there we go. Moving on into the second pick, being Mateo's pick. I mean, he can afford to lose this one. I mean, he got a breakpoint not too long ago. But here we go. Waiting for Mateo to roll in. And there we go. We are going to be moving on to Soul Explosion. I mean, so far Mateo holding a very strong accuracy lead with a 99.85. That is such a good accuracy so far. I mean, even if the map hasn't really gotten too difficult or too technical yet, I mean, being able to hold this really early LNAC is still really good. I mean, of course, we do see the accuracy start to drop a little bit from both players. I mean, going from 99.85 to 99.70. It's still very strong though. I mean, that is in the 990s range. I mean, WoW's doing really good as well. Still putting in 99. I mean, we've definitely seen players struggle on a map like this. I mean, with the distribution of scores throughout the tournament, I mean, these aren't any bad scores by any means. I mean, it does show that these players do have the fundamentals to make it through each of these maps. I mean, both players holding an SC until then, where WoWie gets a 1 miss, definitely gonna give Mateo a lot more cushioning to get a miss if they happen to get one, especially through this section. Mateo still holding in that 990 range. Very, very impressive. And WoWie's trying to kind of climb back up into that 99 range. Definitely gonna be very scary for WoWie. I mean, especially in a pick like this, where you just see your opponent really destroying a map. And as we get through this, Mateo will be taking the second point with a 990, a mere 991 as well. Very, very strong score coming from them. Only 3 greats, and WoWie having 3 misses, but still a pretty respectable score with a 955. But with that, we are going into WoWie's pick. And it looks like we're going to be seeing SV chosen, which I think is a little bit of a smart choice, honestly. I mean, we saw Mateo wanting to ban SV, and I mean, if you can't win on these other picks, like Hybrid 2 or Ellen, you might as well go with a completely different pick. So maybe throw off your opponent. But yeah, we are going to shortly get into this SP pick. A very good pick from WoWie. I mean, like I said, Mateo wanted to ban SV, but unfortunately SV cannot be banned or protected, so it definitely can get the lead up for WoWie and potentially help them kind of get into the flow of things, especially if they win this pick. I mean, even if it brings the score to 2-1, it is 1 extra point that they have that they didn't have. And, you know, potentially, Mateo might win that next pick, but potentially, WoWie could also win that pick. And further on, we could potentially see a comeback. But we'll have to see. I mean, in a round like this, it's very, very hard to see all these comebacks be made, especially with how short these rounds are. but anything's possible. Ooh, that early miss coming from Mateo might just spell out what's to come with this map. Looks like wwowie having maybe a little bit more practice compared to Mateo. Maybe able to get that point off. A very, very crucial point at that. And we'll have to see if both these players do know about the teleport coming up. Especially with the stutter right here. And it looks like wwowie hitting the teleport, but Mateo getting a miss on it. wowie's accuracy did drop a little bit. It didn't go as bad as Mateo's, which definitely does give the chance for wwowie to really make a comeback with this one. Get that extra point that they're going to definitely need, especially seeing how the other maps have gone. I mean, what do we have left? The rice maps, and then we do have hybrid 1, and I believe maybe LN2, but I could be wrong. I do believe LN2 was banned though, so definitely gonna kind of close the room that Mateo has to kind of guarantee a point. But as we do move on in this pick, I mean, Mateo's still holding a pretty strong 96, but wwowie holding a very, very strong 98. I believe still F'ing the map too, which definitely gives them so much more cushioning if they do happen to mess up, especially on this part where things start to get a little bit harder, rhythms start to get a little bit more complex. You see that more introductions of LNs with their kind of respective SVs. And Mateo getting a miss as well. I mean, even despite a decent score coming from Mateo, it's not going to be enough to kind of get to this point, and this could very easily go towards wwowie. And this is the type of thing I was speaking of, being a pick that completely throws off your opponent and helps you get that extra point that you're going to need. And Mateo getting a miss on the slow jam. I mean, definitely having a little bit of trouble reading it, but as we do move on to the final area of this, that will pretty much include null control, our SV pick, point to wwowie, helping them get their first point. A very, very crucial pick, especially as we progress through this match. I mean, if wwowie really wants to make a comeback, they have to start somewhere, and this SV is where they start. But that does conclude this pick, and it is Mateo's pick now. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what he decides to pick. But seeing what's left, I mean, you have hybrid 1, LN2, and then you have the rest of these rice maps. I mean, Mateo seems to want to avoid these rice picks. I mean, it could be good. I mean, they're winning the LNs and their hybrids, and they go with LN2, the density pick, which honestly is a good choice from them. Because they want LN3 and they want hybrid 2, and I mean, you could say hybrid 2 is more of a LN based hybrid, although streamy, it does have a lot of kind of intrusive LNs as well, not as much as hybrid 1. So a pretty good pick coming from Mateo, but that does leave only hybrid 1 and the rest of the rice maps in play besides rice 1. But here we go, we are shortly starting this match 2-1. Let's see if wwowie can make a comeback. I mean, this pick is more in favor of Mateo, seeing how this match has been playing out, but who knows, maybe wwowie's able to get the point here, maybe bring it 2-2, and things could really change from there. But here we go, waiting for the clients to load up, and here we go. Looks like... Oh, that was a real miss, I think. Ooh, that's gonna be really detrimental for wwowie. I mean, very early on, especially seeing how consistent Mateo has been on these LN picks. I mean, if Mateo gets a miss, it's gonna cost a lot more than it did for wwowie, because, I mean, it was at the start of the map, right as the map started. Well, let's see how this plays out. I mean, Mateo's starting to have a little bit of worse LN accuracy compared to something like Soul Explosion or towards the Horizon. And wwowie is slowly catching up, just a little bit, slowly as surely. But as we get into more of a denser section, we'll have to see if it affects either one. So here we go, slowly getting into harder parts of this map. Let's see how it goes. I mean, Mateo's still holding a strong accuracy with a 99.65, but wwowie slowly catching up. But yeah, slowly as surely, I mean, you start to see the accuracy rise. And if we see Mateo get a lot of misses, it could easily switch over, but for now, it's still very much in Mateo's favor, which does make sense seeing as Mateo did when Soul Explosion with a 990 plus, which a map like that is much more complex than a map like this, but you see Mateo having worse accuracy on the density, which is a little interesting to see, but with this map ending, it does look like Mateo is going to run off with this point. A very unfortunate start for wwowie, but there isn't much you can do. .987, a pretty good score at that as well, but that does bring the match to match point, and that does mean wwowie is a lot more at risk. And there we go. I mean, what do you pick if you're wwowie? I mean, probably want to avoid hybrid 1. And maybe we could see the protect. I believe Rice 4 was protected by wwowie. I could be wrong though. Maybe Rice 4, Rice 2, maybe even Rice 5. It's very hard to kind of tell what might be chosen. And we see Rice 5 being chosen, a very interesting pick, but I do think it could work. I mean, it is a bit denser compared to Rice 4, and it is a bit more stamina intensive, so it does contain a lot of consistency. But we'll have to kind of see if wowie's able to get this point. I mean, a point like this is going to be crucial, especially seeing how the match is at match point. I mean, wwowie can get this point, all that's left is the rest of the Rice maps and a hybrid 1. But here we go. Going into Rice 5. Match point for Mateo. But it is wowie's pick, so we could potentially see them get this point, bringing it to 3-2, and who knows, maybe we see a tiebreaker, maybe not, but it's too early to speak now as we are getting into our 5th pick. And here we go. A very strong early lead from Mateo, but we start to see the accuracy start to dwindle down just a little bit. Still very strong, but let's see how they do. I mean, a map like this could be very easy to choke on as well. I mean, still very strong accuracy coming from Mateo. wowie's starting to kind of lower down a little bit, but let's see if they're able to make a comeback. I mean, the accuracy is fluctuating near that 99.7 mark, but Mateo is still gaining just a little bit of accuracy, showing a lot of potential in terms of ratio. wwowie dropping a little bit of accuracy, definitely going to be detrimental, but with some more denser sections coming at the very end, let's see if there is potential for things to shift. But so far, this looks very much in favor of Mateo, especially as we are getting into a little bit of a core jack break section, albeit very slow core jack, which can be a little bit tricky for players to hit depending on their core jack speed, but both these players destroying it with ease. Get back into the flow of things that see mini jacks being introduced. Both these players able to handle just well, especially as they are separated from each other. Not too much to interfere with them in terms of mini jacks. But you see density ramp up a little bit. Mateo still holding a very strong 99.8. And wwowie holding a mid 99.6, but they do have to be extremely careful. I mean, as things keep going by, the density is going to slowly ramp up soon. So we'll have to see if this kind of helps wwowie or if it hurts them in the long run. And not just there yet, but we do see some bursts in here, which can be a bit tricky for players. I mean, wowie's dropping a little bit, actually getting below that 99.6 mark. Definitely not good for them at all, but there is still a chance to see things turn around. And here we go, we're going to get into the denser section. Things get up a lot more. Let's see how both these players do. Mateo still holding very strong accuracy, even if it is a bit lower than before. It's still so strong, getting just a little bit right here. Wowie's still having to compete with such a strong accuracy. But that does conclude Rice 5, and it is going to go towards Mateo, bringing the match to an end with an V1 SS as well. Very, very strong score coming from Mateo, but that does mean Mateo will be moving on into the winners round of 32, and wowie's going to be knocked into the losers round of 32. A good job to both the players. Very strong performances from them as well. Nothing to look over, but with that, we only have one more match for today. Reagan versus Abstract Apple, which is coming very shortly. And then in 6 hours, we will have another one, which is going to be Happer Gamer versus Ramsey. Nemo versus Mindressling being in tomorrow. So stay tuned in half an hour for Reagan Bro versus Abstract Apple. But with that, I am your commentator Znow, and I'll see you in half an hour.